Welcome to NTN Nightly. I am Janelle Norville. This edition's top story. The Government of Saint Lucia prioritizes the advancement of the tourism sector. Diplomatic allies continue to aid in Saint Lucia's fight against COVID-19. And the Parliament of Saint Lucia approves the Criminal Records Rehabilitation of Offenders Amendments Bill. The tourism industry is one of Saint Lucia's major economic drivers, with thousands of citizens employed within the sector. It is for this reason that the Government of Saint Lucia is prioritizing the advancement of the sector. Minister for Tourism, Investment, Creative Industries, Culture and Information, Honorable Dr. Ernest Hilaire, speaking during the Caribbean Tourism Organization's roundtable discussion on Wednesday, highlighted the need to change the public's perception about the tourism industry.
We saw the tourism sector as one that had to be addressed immediately. It is the largest contributor to our economic development, largest source of revenue for the country. And we found over the years that though it employs the most people in our country, there is still a lot of issues being raised about the ownership of the industry in Saint Lucia, about the benefits and how does it accrue across our population. And we're very clear in our minds that we want to the philosophical understanding of the tourism industry in Saint Lucia. We want Saint Lucians to own it and see visitors as guests and not as people who just come to exploit them and just come to their country and not really spend. We want Saint Lucians to be more involved and for them, like I said, to own up to the industry and to own the industry.
Honorable Dr. Hilaire specified the government's intention to diversify the country's accommodation offerings in order to increase community participation in the industry.
We are very serious about spending resources on offering more authentic Saint Lucian experiences to our visitors who come to Saint Lucia. We want to break down this notion that you get a resort-based experience, occasional visits to sites and attraction. We want as a primary feature the Saint Lucian experience, design modalities in which that will be expressed to the visitor when they come to Saint Lucia.
The minister at the roundtable discussion, which was held on September 8, 2021, indicated that the government's long-term vision for the tourism sector includes the realization of a major trickle-down effect to the people of Saint Lucia. Prime Minister of Saint Lucia, the Honorable Philip J. Pierre, was paid a courtesy visit by the United Kingdom State Minister, Minister for Energy, Clean Growth and Climate Change, the Right Honorable Anne-Marie Trevelyan. Discussions centered around climate-resilient projects which are being implemented in Saint Lucia by the United Kingdom government to strengthen the country's capacity to deal with a change in weather patterns. One of the major areas of cooperation is the economic infrastructural projects, namely the Millennium Highway and the West Coast Road Upgrade Project. These projects are expected to boost economic growth, reduce travel time, and build the climate resilience of Saint Lucia's road network.
I'm sure the Minister for Infrastructure will enlighten you on the work we're doing on our roads. And again, the West Coast of our country. That's where we have the Pitons, the Pitons is a World Heritage Site. And then we needed to improve that network. That initiative was taken before I was in government, but as I've always said, when even an initiative is started, once it's a good initiative, we shall continue. So we want to continue that work for the employment that it will create and for the infrastructure improvement.
The Prime Minister highlighted other areas for cooperation, including tourism, building climate resilience, crime reduction, and the youth economy, as the government manages the economy, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic and the ongoing global spike. The UK State Minister, the Right Honourable Anne-Marie Trevelyan, who is on the last leg of her regional visit, addressed issues of access to finance by small island developing states, to not only mitigate against disasters, but also to build climate resilience.
I'm here really in my role as the adaptation champion for the COP26 presidency. It's a great title. What it really meant was as we took on the presidency, the Prime Minister Boris Johnson was very clear that he wanted to make sure that this COP, the COP that we are hosting, rebalanced across the piece all the issues from the Paris Agreement, not only the challenges of mitigation and making sure that countries who are major emitters work very hard to reduce those, which is obviously critical, but the other issues, both in terms of finance, as you mentioned, and how finance is allocated and is accessible, and the challenges of adaptation and resilient investment are made so that we look across the whole piece, because it should be looked at holistically, because as you say, for St. Lucia and for other regional countries, the issue is not the mitigation challenge, but the ability to be resilient to those weather impacts which are coming. Even if we manage to solve mitigation tomorrow, we've had those impacts already and they're coming for years to come. So the ability to become more resilient is critical.
The Government of Saint Lucia will participate in COP26, which will be held in Glasgow to find ways to tackle transformational projects. Saint Lucia receives much-needed oxygen concentrators to aid in the fight against the COVID-19 pandemic. More in this report from Fernel Neptune.
The government of the Republic of China, Taiwan, recently handed over 30 oxygen concentrators to the Ministry of Health to support its response to the COVID-19 pandemic. The oxygen concentrators are expected to improve the quality of care provided to patients requiring oxygen. Minister for Health, Wellness and Elderly Affairs, the Honorable Moses Jean-Baptiste, expressed gratitude to the government of Taiwan for the donation and hopes it will assist in the management of critical COVID-19 patients.
The administering of oxygen is a critical component in the management of hospitalized patients. The ministry must ensure adequate supply of oxygen to meet the needs of these hospitalized patients. The Ministry of Health recognizes this donation of oxygen concentrators as another in a series of material, financial and technical support that the Republic of China and Taiwan is providing to St. Lucia in the fight against the COVID-19 pandemic.
Taiwanese ambassador to St. Lucia, His Excellency Peter Chen, says his government remains committed to assisting St. Lucia in the fight against COVID-19 and hopes these oxygen concentrators will save lives.
This donation is just one thread of the tie bonds binding our countries together. I look forward to working with Prime Minister Philippe Jeppier and his cabinet to bring about even more fruitful bilateral cooperation in Fair Helen. As Ambassador of Taiwan to St. Lucia, I am filled with pride to see the good acts forged by our good friendship. I hope the machine serves St. Lucians well as they fully recover.
Chief Medical Officer Dr. Sharon Belma George says these oxygen concentrators are very essential as they will improve the Ministry of Health's capacity to deliver oxygen to patients needing respiratory support.
The sustainable use of oxygen increases greatly during surges of respiratory illness. And we rely a lot on the use of the oxygen tanks within the hospital. And the turnover increases vastly as our patient load increases, as we have been seeing over the last 2 weeks at our respiratory hospital. So these units allow us supplemental oxygen. They use electricity and they use the oxygen from the air and converts it into oxygen which the patients can use. So it's a lot cheaper, it's a lot easier to make available within the patient rooms, or if we have persons who are moderate and also need care for managing at home.
The Ministry of External Affairs, International Trade, Civil Aviation and Diaspora Affairs were also thanked for the efforts in making this donation possible. Reporting from the Communications Unit of the Ministry of Health, Wellness and Elderly Affairs, I am Fernel Neptune.
The Parliament of Saint Lucia is giving offenders a second chance with the approval of the Criminal Records Rehabilitation of Offenders Amendment Bill. Details in this report. Prime Minister and Minister for Finance, Economic Development and the Youth Economy, Honorable Philip J. Pierre, at Tuesday's sitting of the House of Assembly, presented the Criminal Records Rehabilitation of Offenders Amendment Bill for debate. The Prime Minister explained that the amendment serves as a response to the calls of many individuals, especially the youth who have been adversely affected by the criminal records.
So what this bill sought to do, Mr. Speaker, is the bill seeks to amend the Criminal Records Rehabilitation of Offenders Act and makes provision for certain criminal convictions of offenders to become spent and to be expunged from the records. Mr. Speaker, as I said before, criminal records have been used in society and they prevent persons from holding a job, sometimes obtaining a license, or even obtaining a visa. Having a criminal record expunged allows a person to put the past behind and get a second chance in life, as the stigma attached to a criminal record is removed, leaving the person with a clean court record. This act makes this new life possible.
The Prime Minister explained the amendments, providing a breakdown of the process.
By establishing a Rehabilitation of Offenders Board that has the statutory power of determining whether conviction can be expunged or not. In order for a conviction to be expunged, the conviction must be spent and must carry a term of imprisonment not exceeding 3 years or be a non-custodial sentence. As a result, a convicted person must satisfy the criteria set out in the Act, having regard to the relevant rehabilitation period under the Act. Therefore, on the Rehabilitation of Offenders Board being satisfied, the conviction will be spent and the convicted person will be deemed rehabilitated for the purposes of this Act. It is only at this stage that a person will make an application to the board for the expungement of a criminal conviction from the records. In relation to a person currently serving a sentence, Mr. Speaker, the Act provides that a person must have served or otherwise undergone or complied with any sentence imposed on him or her in respect of that conviction in order to be deemed a rehabilitated person in respect of that offense. This means that a person currently serving a sentence must complete their sentence in order to qualify for expungement. However, the Act also recognizes that the Governor General can, on the advice of the Committee on the Prerogative of Mercy, grant a pardon to any person convicted of an offense. It is fundamental to note that a pardon only takes place where a person is subject to a sentence, and a pardon cannot in effect expunge a conviction from the criminal records of that person. Therefore, as it relates to a person serving a sentence, a pardon must be granted before the sentence can be expunged, Mr. Speaker.
That was Prime Minister and Minister for Finance, Economic Development and the Youth Economy, Honorable Philip J. Pierre, speaking there at the sitting of the House of Assembly on Tuesday, 31st August 2021. From the Government Information Service, I am Janelle Norville. Saint Lucia joins the global community in observing September as Sickle Cell Awareness Month. Sickle cell is an inherited disease that distorts the red blood cells of an infected person, turning them hard and crescent shaped. This can often cause the individual to experience extreme pain. A sickle cell patient can require up to 100 units of blood annually to treat complications of the disease. Minister for Health, Wellness and Elderly Affairs, Honorable Moses Jean-Baptiste, encourages St. Lucians to be part of the observance.
September is observed as Sickle Cell Month here in St. Lucia. I wish all who are living with the sickle cell condition well. Sincere gratitude to all medical and civil society organizations who have worked hard and continue to be dedicated to better outcomes for all who need help. Let us join in the observance of Sickle Cell Month.
Minister for Health, Wellness and Elderly Affairs, Honorable Moses Jean-Baptiste. This is NTN Nightly. Primus Hutchinson is up next. Stay with us.
Breast milk is the gold standard that cannot be emulated. It is the perfect food for your baby.
Breast milk provides antibodies and protective factors which may fight against COVID-19 should your baby be exposed.
Breastfeeding reduces the risk for premenopausal, breast and ovarian cancers.
Breastfeeding is the most natural way to feed your baby. Breast milk provides all the nutrients your baby needs for the first 6 months of life. It requires patience. However, your baby deserves the best and it's worth the effort.
Breastfeeding a baby up to 12 months improves jawbone development, thereby reducing misalignment of the teeth.
Breast milk is baby's first immunization. It protects against viruses, bacteria, and also prevents some chronic diseases.
If your child becomes sick with any illness, including COVID-19, it is very important that you continue breastfeeding.
A woman with COVID-19 should be supported to breastfeed her baby safely, hold her newborn skin to skin, and share a room with her baby.
After giving your baby only breast milk for the first 6 months of life, you can now slowly start introducing solid foods at the right textures. These include pureed vegetables, fruits, peas, and healthy cereals.
For more information, call the Nutrition Unit of the Ministry of Health and Wellness at 468-5359.
Welcome back. We join Primus Hutchinson for the NTN Nouvelle à Creole.
Monsieur Janelle, Monsieur, Mesdames, département qui nous responsabilité, formation en gouvernement Saint Lucia, ça c'est GIS, à son puis télévision nationale pays NTN, qui a présenté Nouvelle à Creole, présenté Primus Hutchinson. Gouvernement Saint Lucia, avec Chambre de commerce, j'ai entré dans un agrément pour une discussion franchement. Premier ministre honorable Philippe J. Pierre, hier, a été acide et puis, membre exécutif Chambre de commerce, Saint Lucia, ça a été mardi, le 7e jour en mois de septembre 2021. Premier ministre là, tenu et puis, honorable Dr. Ernest Hiller, aussi honorable Emma Hippolyte, honorable Wayne Gerard, secrétaire des affaires cabinet du gouvernement, M. Benjamin Emmanuel, et chef officier médical, Dr. Sharon Belma George. Premier ministre Pierre remercie Chambre de commerce et commune business et Tiama pour qu'à chaîne commitment là, pour continuer pour tuer service pour les pays là. Expressement, concept le qui a expérimenté des gros fracassements économiques exercés et qui a dompté la terre bout pour bout. Premier ministre Pierre renforcer dédication et commitment pour chaîne consultation et puis tous ces agences de business parce que l'administration nous voit l'union économique stable et aussi pour vivre établir une situation financière qui est bien accourue et vaccinée. C'est l'officier médical Dr. Sharon Belma George qui présenté un rapport concernant le secteur santé pays qui est présentement principalement en façon qui a ménager maladie corona avec ces situations concernant le WEG, avec ce protocole et aussi tout l'autre ça qui est en place essayer de sauver la vie monde à cette ici. Le gouvernement cette ici avec Chambre de commerce d'accord pour une discussion franchement qu'on paye avec le restant de la terre à continuer pour faire bataille et puis maladie corona. Le ministre Pierre qui a continué pour une discussion et consultation et puis tout ça qui est engagé et concerné des pèses maladies ça là à ce pays cette ici. Il y a aussi une discussion et puis même public là. Pendant qu'il a continué pour ménager la réalité pèse là la maladie corona qui a fait ici. Les officiers de santé, en particulier, yo qui a opéré à l'hôpital Victoria, côté moun qui a souffert et puis maladie corona, qui a reçu un traitement, j'ai aperçu qu'à présent, l'année moun qui a entré à l'hôpital là pour traitement, mais pas capoter pièce ces signes qui a montré une maladie là. Durant une grande discussion et puis les journalistes face au public, pour NTN mardi bon matin, chef officier médical Dr. Sharon Belma George, Dr. Michel François et Dr. Aki Weskosab pour opération l'hôpital Victoria, ça c'est Dr. Alicia Eugene Ford, qui présenté au rapport concernant la situation maladie corona qui a s'imagé rapidement et qui a une cause de la mort aussi. Le ministre qui a une responsabilité pour santé, qui a fait les plus grands citoyens, c'est honorable M. Jean-Baptiste, et aussi fait une contribution par Zoom. En parmi ça, il a discuté ces démarches qui sont déjà en place pour essayer de régler et encourager la pandémie salariale. Présentement, le gouvernement a ajouté à sous un état curfew pour empêcher les gens de combler et chaîne activité sociale. Et j'ai aussi baillé l'hôpital Victoria diverses assistances qui ont été méritées. Parmi ça, c'est docteur et nurse sorti à pays Cuba pour assister ces officiers de santé en institution santé à Victoria, l'hôpital Victoria. Mais ça qui a déjà étonné les officiers de santé à l'hôpital Victoria, c'est juste ça là. C'est manière il y a des gens qui entrent à l'hôpital là pour traitement, pas ces signes qui commun et puis maladie corona. Par exemple, il n'y a pas qu'à tousser, comme mauvais rhume, étouffement. Excellent signe, c'est excellent signe qui qu'on a. Dr. Alicia Eugene Ford déclare qu'il y a un beau docteur, ces gens là, ils ont déjà trouvé qu'à porter plutôt ces signes là, ils ont un mal chair, ils ont un stroke avec l'autre maladie qui pas connaché et puis maladie corona.
Là, nous fait test là, nous avons ces gens malades pour vrai, et c'est COVID-19 yoni, et puis ils pas vini, et go et tout c'est et c'est l'autre bail là, nous take away, et puis ça nous ça dit c'est nous ça fait chai bail à l'hôpital là pour aider ces gens là, mais non pas seulement ces gens là qui malades, mais c'est famille qui a venu là pour try pour connect about famille. Nous avons travaillé avec Flo à présent, parce que nous savons que téléphone n'a pas de travail, manière nous devons travailler. Flo à présent travaille avec nous depuis 6 semaines passées pour try aider nous, so nous avons servi téléphone et puis de manière ça, nous avons parlé avec ces familles, et ces patients là même, c'est queer because you can play internet. Nous avons aussi nous mettons l'autre bail pour aider les gens qui viennent pour la porte l'hôpital là. Si on est pour la hard ces gens là qui malades, système là nous avons mais pour ces femmes qui malades à ce ward là.
Il y a une autre situation qui a concerné les officiers, qui a concerné toujours l'hôpital Victoria, c'est le Dr. Ford. C'est la famille moun qui est malade, parce qu'elle a trouvé l'opportunité là pour bailler des gré assistance là qui ont mérité.
So ça nous a fait, nous a try where so nous ouvert un département non nous jeune moun qui kai weapon phone là qui kai try deal ces qualité problème ça là because action qui a venu là c'est pas problème docteur non stani pour deal peut-être yo vle had moun nan ou yo vle sav yo large bay pour là et puis yo vle sav si moun nan Henley peut-être c'est l'argent yo vle pour large la yo pour gain remède tout différent bay ko qui un docteur un nurse peut-être pas pour deal ça c'est l'autre c'est jeune madame là ça fait ça so ça c'est bay bon nous une email aussi so si vous voulez voir email vous savez email et puis là nous kay ver email try buy with us. OK? So tout ces bail ça là pour ces moun nan. Especially c'est gros papa qui a vinn pour ces t-shirt et issue because you pas a phone. Qui s'appelle you pas savoir about fait ça c'est pas génération. Nous a venu parler avec nous so nous ça aider yo because nous connect you pas aller sur Wi-Fi pour informer yo.
Département des affaires agriculture et développement durable, j'ai formé un gymnase pour bâtir résilience au changement des climats et en façon un projet pour adresser des grès reliables, principalement en agriculture à cette ci. Projet ça là, en bas finance des développements Caribla, CDB, même quand ces divers pays là qui a développé en région, cette ci est très sensible pour des désastres naturels. À résultat du placement, situation climat, et la façon de la terre côté pays cette ci qu'a trouvé. Projet de résilience pour changement des climats ça là, qu'a gardé pour improver résilience cette commune là, un pays qui engagé en agriculture. Ça a fait de façon pour augmenter produits à habitation agricole, meilleur service de l'eau et plus meilleure sécurité pour la vie les résidents, particulièrement la famille, les femmes, et pour aussi réduire faiblesse, c'était comme ça là, pour désastres naturels. Aussi, problème avec le changement du climat. Projet a fixé à la sécurité des services de l'eau, conservation et management terre pour établir diverses façons d'énergie pour augmenter la production effectivement. Projet a aussi renforcé de meilleure manière pour y plus au courant et connaître plus de façons de management pour improver la capacité. Le ministre qui a une responsabilité pour l'agriculture, la pêche, le développement de la commune et la sécurité de manger, honorable Alfred Prosper, déclaré que les gens qui considéré des groupes qui les cultivateurs à expériencer à produits agricoles, en particulier par dommage cyclone Elsa récemment, et malheureusement, il dit ces femmes paniquent assurance. Alors, il est critique pour pays à développer un secteur agricole qui est résilient. Département de développement durable, c'est l'autorité nationale qui est responsable pour une communication à ces agences-là qui a financé le projet là et aussi Banque de développement Kaibla qui a implémenté le projet là. Le ministre là qui a une responsabilité pour le développement durable, c'est honorable Sean Edward, remercier ces diverses agences là et puis un pile gratitude pour qu'a fait ces ressources là available pour supporter l'effort de résilience en affaires agricoles, projet pour bâtir résilience contre le changement du climat en agriculture. Ça a coûté une estimation à 9 millions de dollars. C'est 9 millions de dollars. Mais oui, monsieur, mesdames, ça c'est côté nous à tout bout de nouvelle pour aujourd'hui. Vous pouvez remercier autant pour regarder. Vous pouvez avoir une invitation pour jeune puis encore. Si Dieu conserve la vie, vous pouvez présenter la nouvelle à Créole. Après ça, vous pouvez présenter général.
Merci, Appeal Primus. We now take a look at the weather.
Sunrise Friday, 5:52 a.m. Winds will be blowing from the east near 16 miles per hour or 30 kilometers per hour. The weather fair to partly cloudy and hazy with a few brief showers. Persons with respiratory ailments and dust allergies are advised to take the necessary precautions. Seas are moderate with waves 4 to 6 feet or 1.2 to 1.8 meters. Light to moderate concentrations of Saharan dust will cause a reduction to air quality and visibility across the eastern Caribbean region during the next couple of days. 2 tropical waves located over the central and eastern tropical Atlantic are moving westward near 15 miles per hour or 24 kilometers per hour.
That brings us to the end of NTN Nightly. Join us next time at 7 p.m. with a repeat at 7 a.m. You can also catch up with us anytime on the Saint Lucia Government Facebook page or YouTube channel. I am Janelle Norville.